has their link for the Excel sheet. When we get to that.
That was, that's like.
I sent it,
Yes, the budget doc for Monday.
yeah. Oh, there's Christian.
Right here, all right,
Okay.
ready to go?
Yep.
All right, Corporation of Harpers Ferry Budget and Finance Committee, regular meeting is July 25th, 2022 at 3. That's a little late, 3:33. In attendance, we have Laurel Drake, Deb Kelly, Storm Conzanzo, and myself, Christian Petraconis. I'll read the communication notice here. Until further notice, the Corporation of Harpers Ferry governing delivery bodies will hold its meetings or hearings virtually Zoom, which provides for public participation during the public comment period when applicable, when posted on the agenda. Alternatively, the public may watch by YouTube live stream or listen by telephone. These options comply with the West Virginia Open Governmental Meetings Act. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll second it. All those in favor? I forgot the discussion. Okay. Old business. Discussion action regarding request of funding by the West Virginia University Legal Land Use Clinic for their services in developing the town's next comprehensive plan. I don't have a whole lot on that, other than a few emails I've seen.
Yeah, no, I looked over, Chris Craig had sent the one from West Virginia. We also had information from 2 other members of the planning commission about other options and prices, and one from WVU seemed quite thorough. I thought it was good that we would be able to split it across 2 years if need be. It did not include specifically work for doing the ordinances and such, so that's not part of the 20 grand. But when you looked at what the costs were for even the most minimal work from any other known providers, it appears to be a very good deal.
And to be clear, the other cost comparisons that we have are not with regard to the same work being done in Harpers Ferry, but they are proposals or contracts that have been executed in other towns for
Yes.
similar work.
Yes,
They are not apples to apples bids.
yes, that's true.
And I couldn't see, I think that one of the things that we were trying to accomplish, and I admit that I read this quickly, but we wanted to also have an avenue from this experience to be able to provide to landmarks and planning and BZA ongoing legal advice. Not that I would expect that it would be included in this package, but I wasn't really sure that I saw that intent was being spoken to. Did anybody see that? And I just missed it.
It did not address that directly,
Okay.
so that would be something we would have to take up.
Mhm.
Those items, though, are in the chain, they're dependent on what happens with the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
The thing that we do need to deal with now is the comprehensive plan.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we need to hold up and get a formal proposal for that before moving forward, or recommending that it move forward.
Well, I'm not really sure that it was actually, I'm kind of concerned that it wasn't actually even discussed, you know, as part of what we were looking for long term.
Right.
And so, and do we know if the mayor has actually reviewed this proposal? Was he on that stream?
I've
Where
not
it
heard
was
any
delivered
comment
to?
from them.
Okay. Because I know he didn't want that number going out, and it went out, and that's what we got back. So.
Hmm.
He may have another avenue to further support that number, but maybe that can be dealt with at the council level.
Well, I guess that the question is, at this point, do we want to see if we can get all the information about the whole package although that work is, has to follow the comprehensive plan, it's certainly part of what will have to be done in the wake of it, and to at least have down what the capabilities are and potential costs would be a good thing.
So we're just talking about this one organization, no other organizations, right? This is pretty much,
At this point, we have the West Virginia University Land Clinic, Legal Land Clinic, that has put together a formal bid. We could ask other organizations to put together formal bids as well.
I'm just, yeah, because it's really difficult to tell whether this is appropriate, this is low. I'm not, it seems low compared to what I read in about the one from what New York area, but I don't know how comprehensive that one was.
Oh, well, I didn't look deeply at them. There were two that one member put forward, and they were very broad. And then another member had done a grid with, I think, 5 different firms that were regional. One finding was that larger townships and municipalities and counties, they generally have staff that do it in-house. But from those who didn't, the lowest end of the most basic was in the 40 to 50 range, and that would be expedited going on up. And I'm sure it scales with, to some extent, with the size of the municipality, but probably not a ton, because you have all the same organs for a modest sized town as you would for a smaller one. But we don't have a formal bid aside from the one. Now, granted, you would think the West Virginia Land Use Clinic would be among the top experts there.
I'm not disagreeing. I think it's the right organization. I'm inclined to be with this around this number, as we've talked about that, but
I'm wondering, how do we fund this? Where does the money come from to fund this?
It's in our budget. In the budget revision that we're approving today,
yeah, we kinda-
What fund does it come out of?
the general fund.
In fact, I believe the entire amount
Mhm.
is currently there.
Right.
And through them, they've expressed the willingness that we can
Right.
stretch it across to fiscal years. So
Which I did not know in advance of preparing this, and y'all can make that revision today if you would like.
well, I think we would have to, council would have to approve going with this particular bid before we did that.
Right.
So I guess the question is, given that we do need to get this started, the comprehensive plan, how long do we believe it would take to get another bid? And also our desire, just to know, okay, we have our comprehensive plan. Do we have a partner in them? And do we know what it would cost to go beyond that? And from what we generally been told, we know that, but instead you were saying we don't have anything on paper indicating that as a next step, what that might cost.
I'm really think we can't keep kicking this can down the road. We've been doing this one for a while. I'm inclined to go with them, and even with the number, but I think maybe we should hear from them. We don't know who they, I don't know who they are. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to have them on a Zoom meeting, maybe with the town council, and kind of maybe better explain this, not sell it, but explain it,
I felt pretty good because they included extensive information about the specific people who are going to be
Right.
working with us.
Okay.
Yeah, they
And-
have resumes in here and,
And
yeah, here, take a look at that packet.
And it's actually nice. You have one person who has extensive experience, with comprehensive plans, both internally with organizations and then also with the land clinic. And then you have someone who's an actual legal specialist, and I forget who the third person was. I think someone who's going to be more of a doer and lower down on the chain, but that it seems like they have assembled a team that would be suitable for our specific needs
Let me ask
on
you
the
this.
comprehensive.
So I had suggested that once we get some description about what the scope of the work is from their perspective, that we toss it over to Thrasher, at least for a bit. Can't Thrasher do this kind of work? My understanding was that they could.
I wasn't aware that they did comprehensive plan.
Well, I could be wrong, but somehow down the road, I heard, somewhere down the road, I heard that in. So anyway, I was just wondering if, you know, if we at least make an attempt to get something bought from them before the council meeting, it might just at least give us an apples to apples. I mean, I don't know who else to turn to in terms of who would do the work.
Yeah, well, there were the couple of names, that planning or organizations that planning
Okay,
suggested.
Right?
Though the numbers on those were
Mhm,
orders of magnitude
mhm,
more than
More,
what West Virginia was. And I've never, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Crasher might offer this service, but I've never seen it. We see them more focused
Okay.
on infrastructure
I think, okay.
than kind of the legal and policy end of things.
I don't know why I could be wrong, I just don't know why I, thought that, but.
Well, I mean, the stormwater project has some of the same elements, but again, it's focused around their main thing, which is putting shovels in the ground and pipes, and I could be wrong. You know what, I can check right
I'm
now.
telling you, it looks pretty solid here. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
I
it.
mean-
It's pretty
I think we,
good
Have a-
organization. Looks like.
I mean,
Let's see. Yeah, I'm just looking at their site now. They do master plans for this and that, but as far as municipal services, that would be
Okay.
actually comprehensive plan doesn't look like it.
alright, well,
Okay. Well, we could split the baby, if we recommended, going with the benefit contingent on. Reaching out to another organization or reaching back out to the land use clinic about. What next steps with ordinances and enacting would look like, if not a formal bid, something that were at least a basic schedule and description of what those services might be. Which would help us plan the finances.
I
going
think
forward.
they have the schedule in here.
For doing ordinance work?
Yeah, well,
No,
no, not
well-
ordinance work, but for the comprehensive.
No, we have everything we need for comprehensive
Okay.
plan for those services. I meant the elements that would be. To go after that, for actually retooling the ordinances and that end of things, and ongoing
okay.
support.
So you're
Okay.
saying that we would have to redo our ordinances to better fit with the comprehensive plan? Is that?
That was one of the things, remember when, we had David Simmons on, and he was saying, hey, can we get some
Oh,
funding?
I got what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
part of the second part that I didn't verbalize. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so it's
Okay.
not something that we need to decide or determine now, but what was raised, and I think that's good, is we need to. At least have a sense that on the roadmap with the WVU land clinic, that it is part of the suite of services that could go hand in hand. Failing that, of course, we could still reach out to someone else, who would be able to go to the comprehensive plan, extract from that.
Your point is that if they, without the second part, it's simply a study and a plan without any meat to it.
Oh, no,
But if you add ordinance, and this is what you would need to do with the ordinances, if you put this into effect, it helps you on the next road.
yeah, like gate one is having the comprehensive plan, which is this whole process where we're getting the input and making sure it squares up with the goals of people in town and all the considerations of new data that's coming. And then part two is, okay, now that we determined that, in practical terms, how do we translate to the town's policies, its ordinances?
Right, which
and
is
all
a
of
big deal, and it would. It would, if we didn't have that, our ordinance committee would
Oh,
have a full-time.
for
job.
sure, but we have to
Yeah.
clear gate one, so that we have.
Exactly,
kind
so
of a
we know
broad
what to do,
comprehensive-
right. I can
Could that
understand.
that might be a different service, that's.
Yeah, it's the next step, but to get a sense as we're looking forward for our longer term planning purposes, like we now know that we could. Split this across 2 years to have a sense of, all right, when it's time to do either a budget revision or 24, that we kind of know what we're getting.
Well, it sounds like they're gonna need that for the second act, right, first year. I mean, right
Yeah.
now,
But if they know they're doing the second part, that will adjust their work on the first part, because they will be thinking, okay, so we're gonna put this in here. With a look ahead to what's gonna come out in part two. if the same party is doing both of them, they're certainly going to be thinking about the second part while they're doing the first part. Wouldn't you agree?
I think it would certainly be good, like if we are considering recommending to go with the land clinic services to signal to them that it's something that we want to look at. We do need more information on that before we formally commit.
Well, it doesn't seem that that should be insurmountable before the August town council meeting,
No, I guess not, since that's the second
2
Monday.
weeks from now.
We can make a motion to approve with that stipulation hanging out there till we get some more information. Well,
Yeah, I guess we could, if we're in the motion that pending further information from WVU Land Clinic.
and we were hoping they would include it.
And we could also reach out to one or two of the other agencies just to see if they're even in the ballpark. If not, to make a formal bit. So we would need to have this resolved by when, in order for it to go to town council. Well, I guess we constructed the motion in a way that it has to clear the gate of reaching out back to WVU. At the very least, then we wouldn't need to call a special meeting for that.
Right. If you ask for multiple bids after this, then you want to have another budget and finance meeting before council.
Yeah. Hang on, we're doing materials just from. See it here. Just, my recollection was that. The others either weren't geographically around or close.
I just sort of felt that we had the number was about right, but of course that's the number they got. But still, if they can do all that work for that price, looks like that's good. I don't want to, you don't want to nickel and dime into that. I mean, then you might end up with a piece of junk quality product.
Well, I think of it in terms of being able to plan for the next steps and to signal to them, this is something that this isn't a one and done for us. I would characterize pending receiving additional information about ordinance review. And that how would you characterize?
Ongoing legal support for our landmarks, planning and BZA commissions.
Where I said the town's committees and commissions. Yeah. Okay, I'd like to make a motion. To recommend accepting the proposal from the WVU Legal Land Use Clinic for their services in helping with the town's comprehensive plan update and allocating them up to $20,000 from the general fund, pending receiving additional information about ordinance review and ongoing legal support for the town's committees and commissions. Deb's going to specify the fiscal year on that.
I think put it in fiscal 23, and after you second the motion, I'll say one.
For fiscal year 20.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
So I think it's important to leave it in 23 because part of what we don't want to be doing is obligating a big contractual
Sure.
money to the
Sure.
next fiscal year. So if we're able to spread it out, then adjust that when we get to the end of 23.
Right. We're never allowed to do that.
Yeah.
We weren't,
It's a big enough contract that you don't want to do that. Yeah.
right. All those in favor? Aye, the motion passes. Okay. Number 2, discussion action regarding the fiscal year 2023 water department pay scales. With a possible executive session. Needed or not.
I think we should go to executive session on the water.
Are we discussing specific salaries?
Basically,
Because no names are gonna be,
no names. Basically,
We really shouldn't, like, in general. It's only if there is something specific, again.
well, the thing is, we could be bringing in the current salaries of the people who hold these positions. When we talk about of how to start the table, because that's what we're determining, right? The how to start the table of the 10 steps.
So if we leave names out.
Do we have a table to work with?
we'll put this together. It's the comparison of the two
But
municipalities.
the table like we had for the
The-
police scales, the
The-
steps.
That's the idea of what we were trying to make.
Well, we have to get the initial number. I think we understand the scales in general, how that.
In general,
It
yes,
steps up.
but if we're talking about actually setting the scales, we need to have something to work from.
That's what this is for. To provide the beginning numbers by looking at salaries. So
Yeah, and that's all, that just plugs it
that's
in.
all, right?
It's all
But
we're
we
saying.
might want to look at the current salary of our present workers. In order to compare to, just to. Are we really gonna look at this number in without regard to our current salaries?
We have to.
But we don't need to name names, we could say the lowest. The
It's,
lowest.
first of all, we don't need to say overall dollar amount. I like this by the hourly rate.
Well, what's wrong with going to executive session? Or tell me your vision of what we were gonna do with this. Maybe I didn't see what you had in mind when you put it on the agenda.
I thought we were gonna have the comparisons like this, and just to see if we're generally in line with others. We don't have to be the highest, or the lowest, we just
Right.
want to see if we're in line.
And we're imagining that at the end of the session today, we would actually have the grid assembled or at this
Well,
point.
as far as I understand, we're just determining step one.
Okay.
And everything after that is already set, once it begins on step one. And so all we're trying to do is set the step one salary.
Okay, then. I don't feel like we need to go into executive session, just because we can talk in general terms of. When we have done hiring for step one of the thing, where we stack up.
I mean, it's fine with me. You said we're gonna see if we're in the ballpark of this, but that would mean discussing our salaries. Right?
Has the water commission reviewed our salaries compared to those salaries? To
This, we
just
didn't do
make a
this.
start,
We did not, I did not have this at our last meeting.
okay,
Maybe we need to put it off.
Yeah, I'd say ideally, like if what came to budget and finance was. To look through it, make a recommendation based on your knowledge, and this information. And just plot it into the grid, the way the police scales work. And then, we'd have this would be the backup that you can say, we mapped it from here to there. And we never have to get into names with it. Like this seems like a more granular level.
Well, I guess my idea was to, look at the current salaries, see whether how it. The current would be greater than or equal to what we might set as a beginning salary. But we could. That would just help us determine the ballpark, right? But and I have to say, I was not able to get Shepherdstown because they were out of town, they were on vacation. And that would help if we had theirs.
Yeah, maybe we just need to move off on this one until
And this is
we
something
have
that
that one.
it seems like there is a work session, whether that's water
Yeah.
commission or we sit down and to train it out. And then bring it here so that it can be more approving and reviewing,
Yeah.
and, checking the math, but that's it.
And the reason I have it on the agenda is just to make sure we don't lose this. This is why I keep it on here until it's done, or at least we vote it off.
So it's a standing item.
I guess
or
it's
an
standing
expectation That it would be.
But I would think the water commission needs to get. Well, these two are important, and maybe the Shepherdstown, and then just kind of. Do, oh, yeah, I would say work session there.
And that would be very powerful, like to have the other three townships together, and maybe this extra time will allow us to have that as well.
Well, certainly the water commission can review it.
And that way, when it comes to budget and finance, we don't have to talk, in specific terms at all. Sure.
So at the budget and finance level, it would basically be a check and balance of the proposed chart, like the police department fully developed with your base salary already set. Based on what's been reviewed from other municipalities and what our people are doing. So that you can say, okay, this is fair based on our region. And then inside of that, you would have determined perhaps on another sheet where our various employees fall on the different spots on the chart, which then could be reviewed and then passed on to council. So this is like a logic check for what's built from that.
It's just that, I remember not too long ago. That the water commission was not supposed to have anything to do with salaries or stuff, that was the purview of the mayor. And remembering that, I thought that this was not a water commission matter.
Well, I think if it's on the track for something that is for council, for advising on that. So it's not actually setting it, but again, having the process done in a way that when it comes here, we can verify, yes.
So it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, it might, and maybe that needs to be reviewed with the mayor, I don't know, but it seems like in this session. If we should have it to review,
Yeah,
not build.
This is great information, but I think
Yeah.
it's too raw right now. for us.
I thought that we were the building group. But yeah, I'm okay with taking it back to the water commission. If that's what you think I should do.
Because of them.
Want to sit in budget and finance meeting now? No way. Right, so, and it looks like this is gonna be, left as old business for another time. Number 3, I think is the same thing.
Yeah, I think with regard to both of those, we had talked about that we wanted to get them resolved within the first quarter of this fiscal year.
Yeah.
So we're well within
Yeah.
our commitment to that. With the general services one, we have some competitive numbers. And now we have to get to building the chart.
Two charts.
right. And who's building
So I'll work with Verlissa on that and then we'll work with the mayor. And that may be the same course that needs to happen with the water. I don't know, but maybe we need to check with the mayor on that or whatever. I'm not sure. So,
yeah, so that's not a formal motion, but we should check.
yeah, and if the water one needs to be developed through, just giving numbers to Verlissa and starting to work with that and having it come back here, that's fine. We just need the director.
Okay, well, I've made a note just regarding the water department pay scales that if the mayor on it should go through waterworks, or if it would be just a work session within budget and finance. Okay, and then I made a note about the general services pay scales as well.
Okay, so I guess we're in new business. So discussion action of updating the fiscal year 2023 revision 1 budget.
All right, so you guys should have your spreadsheet.
I can't
You're
find
ready to
mine yet.
Yeah,
roll with that, or
Can't seem to roll without my eyes. I can't seem to roll this thing down.
When did you send that out?
last. Wednesday or Thursday, let me see here.
How do I get this to scroll?
You know,
It's
I found
relative,
it-
Thursday the
I
21st.
found it,
Okay. What day was it?
Thursday the 21st. 3:39 p.m.
This thing's not typing.
And I'm gonna work off the actual spreadsheet in case you wanna make any changes, so I think I have it matched up. If it's not making sense, let me know I'm on the wrong sheet then, but I think I got it. All right, so, if you look just at the fund balance end of year tab. Charlie and I went through and established what we think is gonna be happening there as the fund balances get finalized. And there was enough change that it did seem to warrant just a budget revision, and primarily the fund balances are being, there's a few of them that are being changed, the carry forward numbers, and then we adjusted some expenses below, but the net result is a very small change in the overall budget of just $3,400, so. Basically, the hotel motel fund, came up, and then we, from paying off the vehicles, et cetera, that we did, our cash dropped a little bit there for our general fund. And also we added back in under the assigned fund, the Armory Trail, which we thought was gonna be paid off. So there was just a lot of swapping back and forth there that is adjusting those numbers. So going back over to the actual revision sheet, you'll see the restricted fund balance jumping up a little bit to 4,100. The assigned balance is jumping up, taking out the 10,000 for the stormwater, but adding in the 50,000 for the Armory Trail, right? The unassigned is dropping a little bit from the car payoff. So then I went through, and in the middle column, you've got income and expenses as of June 30. So comparing that to what we projected, I did a little bit of moving around there. So for instance, under B&O tax, we ended up at 195, we predicted 145 for the year. So I kind of went in between there. I felt like we're still in a pretty healthy vein with all that. But this is all subject to your opinions, they're just my predictions. Keeping that, I can't see us moving off 10,000 on that liquor line. I'm
Mhm.
just really concerned about moving that too much.
Until another liquor store opens up.
Right. This push up hotel motel a little bit. Sales tax revenue pushed that up a little bit. Came down on fines, fees, and court costs. That's always a moving target for some reason, I don't know why. Licenses, just a small adjustment there, which kind of coincides with B&O and sales revenue, if you think about it. Small adjustment on permits. Dropped our parking to be conservative. Just felt like that was coming in too tight.
Mhm.
Rents and concessions, I have to double check that number, but we'll be okay there. It's just that.
Oh, and just to roll back, so I'm just curious about B&O,
Yeah.
what were the drivers for you that led to that revision?
Well, we ended up at 195.
Okay, so we pulled back. to
I
the-
just thought that we would be able to be a little more,
Rather, we pulled back up to where we expected we would be,
yes,
yes.
closer to where, yes, I think originally, like going back a couple years, well, even just last year. Well, we thought the end of 22, we were gonna end up at 175 when we hit 195, so I felt like it made sense to,
Tweak it back up, yes.
yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Let's see, so then everything else is just kind of fine tuning. Lottery, I felt like that was pretty strong, we were expecting 22-30, we ended fiscal 22, we were thinking about 38, but we're up at 43, and I feel like that in terms of activity that we hear about in the state and everything, and people moving around again and that kind of thing, I felt like that was a pretty strong thread to be able to count on more, so I bumped that a little bit. So overall, that just changes our income with an increase of $3,400. So going down into the expense area. The public safety, we've paid off and paid off the car and paid for the new car, so that
Mhm.
can be dropped. And honestly, this is just kind of a placeholder in case we feel it come across any other things. We do have built in the $20,000 for all their new radios and the radar that's still coming into the base down in the bottom. That does not count this.
Okay.
The 170, I increased that to just try and keep some of those stormwater needs in there and our street needs. I think something that we need to think about, that we want to be thinking about as we plan, is that we know that this High Street thing, stormwater, even though these two things are just in study stage, they're not
Build up our
build out
funds,
stage.
actually, yeah.
So what we might want to be thinking about as we move forward through this year is actually making motions that go to council that set a bar for us to try to build a reserve in the fund carry forward balances that we hold there to try to support us when we get to the point that we need matching funds.
Yeah.
Even if we go for CDS on any of these things, we still will have a matching fund requirement, and we don't know that federal funding option will be available to us in the future.
Yeah, with stormwater, there are a couple of the options that don't have matches, but we shouldn't count.
We should account and we should, yeah, and it's okay for us to build up a reserve with that. So I think this is something to be thinking about as we approach our next revision.
And West Virginia DOH really had a pretty good big number for the High Street.
Yeah, all we're looking at now, that's the money that we have in there now is just from
For
design
design.
and planning.
Hmm, yes.
It's not the actual.
Oh, yeah, they're talking upwards. of a
Right.
million.
That's
you're-
what
you've
he
got
said.
a
He
lot.
just wanted us to have an idea. This is the ballpark.
Right.
We got a lot of matching fund requirements in front of us. Yeah. All right, made the adjustment to add the payroll, the parking attendant in.
Yep.
And also,
Do we have to do an approval for that? This parking tank can just start, didn't we?
well, whenever any employee is hired, it is the town council's decision and it is required that it be approved.
So we need to get it on the agenda.
I believe it's on the agenda
Is it?
for Wednesday. I'm not sure.
Because they've got this person trained now,
All right,
hired and trained.
so, the visitors bureau and the arts and humanities numbers changed because the carry forward balance adjusted and I adjusted the income. Landmarks, I added back in $1,000, even though they had originally only said 500 for the Danvers archives, but I put 1,000 in there. Kind of as a placeholder. They want to continue with that and requested that we keep it on as a carry forward item. And then moving on down into treasurer and clerk. Those were just some rounding things that kind of got.
Rounder.
Yeah, well, sometimes the pennies don't always work out right for me, but they're just rounding errors, really, not really errors, but just what needed to be tended to. Okay, so now if you look on line 155, I think 437 planning, you'll see your 20,000 for the planning commission for the comprehensive plan contract.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Mhm.
The city leave accrual, I dropped that because that was to sort of compensate for our police clerk who retired.
Oh.
So that's more of a normal number there. Audit costs went up because we thought we were gonna have one in 22, but now they're both gonna be in 23, and there was a price adjustment. Oh, dues and subscriptions were not required to pay the home rule fee this year, so that's a little drop.
Huh.
Pension expense, this went up because we've added in salary the administrative position commitment on the general fund side, so that's on. It's line at 188 salaries and wages. That increase occurs, which then affects your payroll taxes and your pension. You know what, I did not pick it up on. Insurance. Wait a minute, give me a second here, let me see what I got going on with that.
Yeah, insurance and bonds, that,
wait, 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 wait. Um, I think we'll be okay to adjust that later. It'll be probably like about a $7,000 adjustment. I can make it now.
Yeah, that way. we
yeah,
I do
just have it
too.
in there.
can go
Yeah.
ahead and pass it as an Indian. Recommend.
Jerry. Weird that there's not a PEIA line in this. It's funny because we don't have, never had anybody in this group. I guess that's why it is. Pension, hosted, yeah, I'm not missing it. It's something. All right, I'm gonna increase that 14,000 line to be 21,000.
I'm sorry, what's your?
Insurance and bonds 179. I might end up putting that on a separate line, but for now we'll do that. I'll say insurance or. All right, and then. That brings City Hall up to almost 39,000. I'll make my adjustment for the 7,000 between contingency and general government, so that contingency line will change.
Yeah.
Police department, mostly looking at fine tuning, except when you get to the departmental supplies, that's where I put the body radios,
Yeah,
which then affects the total police department supplies. And then pretty much the rest of it is all just fine tuning. You know, the Bolivar, looking down towards the bottom line, 243 West Virginia Bolivar, that's the rate that we pay to the state, which is based off of their income, which we drop for fine speeding for court costs. So overall, that department dropped by 1,700.
Although they also get the is it the oil and coal severance?
That's not on here. It's not part of this. The fire, this is what we agreed to pay out of the general fund to
Yes.
them. Coal severance is its own animal. Yeah, so coal severance will be in addition to this. All right, then going down the street, basically just a little fine tuning rounding numbers there. And so really that just gives us a net change of, it's gonna be 10,000 now instead of the 3,400, but let me.
Is-
Go ahead.
Within this, is there money for tree work?
The tree
it's 6,000.
is, yeah, so the way that works is that we plan for an expenses of, tell me what's the number, Christian, is it 6,000 or more? I'm just not seeing it in a second.
Yeah, I said, I just went by it myself.
So that's under planning, tree committee,
Yeah,
we have
planning committee.
6,000. And then, so that is the town's contribution of 3 and 3,000 from the state, but we have to count it all. This is the expense area, so we put it all together here. So up top, you have 3,000 state grant online. Oh, excuse me, it's a federal grant on line 61, 365 federal grant. That's 3,000 coming from the Department of Forestry. And then the rest of that money comes out of the general fund. Our part comes out of the general fund. Okay, all right. And then sometimes, you know, just small tree work, we just pull out of the street department or parks or something like that. Yeah.
We're losing, we lost some trees, so.
That's why I bring it up. It seems like
Yeah.
we spend an increasing amount of that. just with the-
This fall, I have to deal with it,
So I'm gonna drop the, oh, bugger,
because you can't put a tree in right now. It's
9.
heat.
Oh,
And, that's 3, so I have to take 4 out of this one. I think I'll have it very close. 4,000. Get my number. Yes, got it. Okay, so we still, so what I did was I took 3,000 out of contingency and 4,000 out of general government. To take care of that 7, so it still ends up with a net change of 3,400 to the positive. All right, any questions?
Nope.
So that's the whole run of it.
Right, so what'll happen is I will convert this now to the summary sheet that just shows the lines that go to the state auditor's office in a spreadsheet, and then I'll fill out the form that goes to the state auditor's office. That's what you'll see, and we'll go to council. We won't have all this detail that goes to council. But all the yellow block lines that are on here are the numbers that get incorporated in all that.
Yes. And I move to recommend adopting the fiscal year 2023 revision 1 budget as amended.
I'll second that. Discussion? All those in favor? Passes. Okay, that was a big one. All right, discussion number 2. I don't know why I have this as a new business when I think
Because
we
you
did.
wanted to ask that we initiate a possible plan
That's it.
to come to the next meeting.
Right. So discussion action regarding a plan. Yeah, I wrote it here, a plan for participating in the solar energy offering from Mon Power and Potomac Edison. I think there's 3 ways to participate. One is not at all. One is our entire electric bill. Or we do something like the streetlights or a partial bill.
Or some combination of bills.
Yeah, something like that. But I did look at the latest bill we had for the electric bill. It was approximately $1,000. And
But for which one? For the street lights?
streetlights.
Okay.
Yeah, I took the Potomac bill and I was just
Gotcha.
proving them. It was about $1,000. It was $980 or something like that. So that's approximately, if it is $1,000 a month, that's going to be about $480 a year.
That
An
we'd be
additional cost
adding
of the
on to it.
4%, yes,
Yeah.
And I think then we could say that we are participating in this important program with the state. And you can go bigger, of course, I'm not saying put the water, in it, but you can put all the town in it as well.
Right. I'm sorry. So it's 1,000 it's 1,000 a year for the street lights, so 12,000 a year. So we get the 480.
Yeah.
Percentage of that. Got it.
What percent is that?
4%.
4% of 12,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
and what they're trying to do, well, is they're trying to gather up all these municipalities and towns, and they're trying to get up to the number. They have some big number, megawatts, 50,000 megawatts. What? Some kind of watts, but a certain level, so the state then will permit them to proceed with construction on their gray sites.
But until they've subscribed 85% of it, otherwise just no go.
Right.
Right. And I
So,
did talk to him too, Thomas, earlier. He had told me they're not even thinking about starting this until about a year from now. So there is no impact. It's not going to come off now.
so it would be,
December 2023. Like even if it's not online, they're going to purchase credits so that,
they have the money sitting aside as a reserve that they can start breaking ground with.
but also that we will be able to say that whatever light or electric is designated, because they will have purchased credits so that from other plants that produce clean electric. So that we actually will be powered by clean electric, just not from the plant that they're going to be building. So
Okay.
billing will start in December of
Yeah, this is the-
2023.
When he told me it'd be later, he thought it was going to be a year from now. The credits may start then, but the
Right.
billing to us.
Yeah, that's
The
the
year out.
earliest, that's when billing would start. It wouldn't start now, it would start December 2023.
2023.
Yeah.
Not 22. Okay. Okay, so basically what
Right.
we're,
Right, that's
all
it,
right, so this is basically something that will get included in fiscal 24 budget.
correct.
Okay, so we want to just, is there anything else that you want me to do with regard to setting out that plan and doing any research?
I think we should look at what we think the cost would be just for the lights. I like when he brought it up in the meeting, and that's something everybody sees, the lighting, that would be a good start. But I'd like to see it maybe with the whole town.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it would be
Okay.
good to see
This
just a
one.
simple
What it would
chart
cost us.
saying, you know, here's zero or do nothing, here's the smallest bill, whatever, and then,
Okay,
you know, have a running total and just
Fair
say,
enough. okay, I'll do that.
that way we can just see. Oh,
And then-
yeah, that makes sense. We get our-
And then we present it to the council and,
I'd also be curious to know, how many megawatts that contribution would represent. Just like to say,
oh, that, yeah, so Deb, if you do that, just don't do the dollar amount, but look at the watt or kilowatts it uses. So I know how many kilowatts we're
like we
killing.
would be able to say, based on how much energy we are subsidizing this way for solar, what percentage of that plant that's being built is
You know,
being funded by the town.
she doesn't need to do that. I remember Thomas brought it up in the meeting. He was gonna make a phone call. Remember he tried to make that phone call in our meeting last time? He was gonna call his assistant up and she was gonna give us the numbers, but she pick up the line. So we could probably get that directly from him. from his
Well,
office.
It's a simple calculation.
Yeah,
You know, just to see what the cost per kilowatt is. and-
Cost per kilowatt to pay the 4%.
Or to say, if if it's a 50 megawatt plant. And we're subscribed to however many kilowatts, like what percentage of that plant's commitment?
Are we making?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
50 megawatts is the number I'm looking at.
I'll double check that.
It was 50.
It's 50 megawatts.
but I definitely would like to be one of those municipalities in the state that's participating in this program. I don't want to be one of the ones that's on the list. that's
Oh, yeah.
not There.
Well, it's exciting. You imagine the groundbreaking when it's up and running and being able to tell. you know,
And one of them's nearby us in Berkeley. He said Berkeley Springs.
Off of 81 to South Hagerstown. Yeah,
We couldn't even go there.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Putting West
drivable.
Virginians to work, yeah.
You know, another thing, I wish too, we could put something on, like something on our website or something that we are, he didn't say anything about that, but I really think there should be a branding thing to that.
That's a great idea.
I thought he did say something
Did he?
about that. Well, anyway, it seems like we have a bit of checking with him to do anyway.
Okay, 50 megawatts.
Okay, all right. I got you.
So we'll just. You don't need a motion on it. Okay, now, okay, the last one, discussion and action to determine the advertising platforms and schedule for hiring a public works administrator. I've done some research on it myself.
I have done a little bit as well.
I was going to show the local paper. This is our paper we're supposed to be using, right? This is the
Sure,
paper of record for the town. And I saw, the only nice ad I saw for advertising the job, which I'm not even saying this is the best medium, but there, I will show the public if anybody's watching. Oh, there. This was last week's paper. So it has like a real cutout. It's not like one of these ones in the buried in the, they don't even have much classified. To tell you the truth. And that's even whether we should do that in that paper either. And then you got the journal. I looked at ads in the journal today. I subscribed to the journal and the Spirit. And there's ads from the Jefferson County school system. Nice ads, by the way. They had some good ads. They use a QR code in it. You know, to give you more description of the job, you just hit your camera on it and you can read up more. So you don't need a colossal ad to, or some of the ads were for police officers and stuff, and there's like 10,000 lines of very fine print. And so I thought maybe if we wanted a full description or fuller description, we can look at that.
Yeah, I also looked at some of the online options. There's one of them that you can post for free. And that's indeed.com.
Oh, indeed. Okay.
Yep. And of course, there's an asterisk by it where they sell you on boosting your ad that you can reach more people if you do that. But just to post the listing, there is no cost.
Okay.
And same with Facebook.
And Facebook, and also, of course, it should go on every town communication channel we have.
Well, I looked at, we should do our own website. Are we part of the West Virginia Municipal League?
We are,
That's
and
it.
we're also part of,
West Virginia, rural.
Thank you.
one.
Okay, that's three right
And
there.
they have a job opportunity page as well.
There's also a job place called for government jobs, govtjobs.com. Oh, and here's the West Virginia National Guard's initiative to fill job vacancies. So I think we could do this in a two-pronged thing where we focus locally first. Unless you want to blast it all.
I think we should blast it.
All right, I'm all for going for it all.
This is something that we're hoping is going to be the start of something that will be helping that.
It's worth spending a lot of effort and some funds on this because we need the best possible candidates.
Yeah.
To interview, and this is gonna be a great job. And it's the first time we've ever had this position.
Laurel, additional thoughts about it?
Are we agreed on the advertisement? I sent
I
out
saw that.
the one that had the mayor's notations on it. Should we look at that as well to make sure we're on that?
Yeah, what is the authoritative version? Oh, we just got another. Got a comprehensive plan bid.
I sent it on July 21st. And it's called draft admin advertisement.
Yeah, I saw it. They had journal. So Martinsburg, I'll show you some of the ads they have. This one for the sheriff is terrible. Yeah, here it is. Here's an administrative assistant to the deputy superintendents, and this is Dive. This is their ad. This is the kind of catchy stuff you need to do.
Whoops, here. For a limited time.
Sorry, guys. Too bad we don't have monitors.
I know.
Solar powered one.
Well, I gotta, without my mouse, I am.
You want me to
screwed.
send this out again?
No, I think I have it. This is the one you sent on this set.
I sent it on the 21st. It was after after a meeting,
I see it.
but I could send it out again. anyway.
So that was the ad? I mean, that was an ad you did? Or is it just a list of things?
Oh, no, what I'm seeing on the 21st was the salary survey.
Okay. Let me send it out again to everybody.
Oh, I just got it.
Okay, so here's this one from JCS, Jefferson County Schools.
Which platform is this?
This was the Journal. This is a print ad, the Martinsburg paper. So you have a nice header, little something about the organization, matter of fact, doesn't even go into much about the job itself.
Right, it makes.
And
the
then,
broad pitch.
and then they make the pitch and get them to go on the QR code.
That's a good approach.
And that way, we don't look like a lot of these other ads that are look like police department. Everybody's looking for police, by the way.
I guess the question is, if we do that, where's that QR code going to take people? Like, will we have a
Well, we
page
should-
set up on the,
Yeah, we should have it linked back to the website, to put everything there, that's how I would imagine that works, but I do not know how you make that work.
Oh, I don't either.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't know what you do.
oh, I know technically how it's done, but as far as what the process is of having the page,
Actually getting the QR code, I don't know anything about it.
that I know. That's,
Okay,
that's not. the
all
point.
right,
Well, we could have it go back to the town page where the description. is,
Right.
where the-
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
I think if we just had something a little catchy, I think color, and I think, it kind of entices somebody, and, maybe we do say something about part-time. I actually think that that's an attribute, an important benefit. There's people.
Well, I could lay this out, and I think it's a two-part thing. One, what is the sort of the advertisement part, and then locking down when people go to that page. What are they
Yeah.
gonna see?
Okay. Sounds good, and
Although I think for Indeed, it would probably be, I didn't look too deeply, it might actually be, you can post the full description.
Yeah. So, yeah, I saw some other ZipRecruiter.com was another, LinkedIn and Career Builder were some other
Yeah,
top
those,
sites.
LinkedIn would be tough for us, because the town does not have a LinkedIn account. And I think the other ones, they require paying, and it's often, it could be thousands of dollars to do postings.
I'd like to know what you guys think about, posting the whole kit and caboodle job description.
Posting where,
Posting, well, I'm just saying, even if we put a link to it,
Oh, I
of
see.
course, we would not put it in the whole advertisement, but I'm afraid it's too scary and too, anyway, I'd really like to know what you think about it, because it seems a little scary to me to put that in front of somebody when they may not understand what they're looking at, when it doesn't jive with 20 hours per week. And that's what I wonder. It could be explained once they come to the interview.
okay.
Yeah,
What-
this is what you want to avoid
Right,
as an ad. This is for fire services, EMS hiring ad.
Yeah.
It's just line after line after line after line, and anyway, we want somebody that has some high-tech background who like, oh, hey, they look like they know what they're
but
doing.
I think we're agreed on that.
Okay, so I'm off of that.
But I think what Laurel was talking about is that landing page, on our website. What are they going to see? Are we going to post the entire description, which is the vision for this position as we hope it will grow? Or will it be something shorter, or will it be, again, splitting the baby, where there might be the highlight summary at the top and then the description after? And I don't know what the standards are, for doing job postings like this.
Because it's unusual what we want. It's not your standard job like the town clerk. That was a clear description of what we needed.
Well, it needs somebody if you've got the main elements in it, it just needs like an editor person to kind of make sure it's cohesive and makes sense.
Well, it could be like in the layout where you're editing it down to sort of the meat of what we're looking for, that would serve as kind of the top line. That's the impression that's in someone's mind. And maybe on the page at the top is, what is our process? Like when someone goes to that page, what do we want them to do? How do they behave? Is it that we want them to submit their resume to us and there would just be a button saying, to email us, like what's the next step? Because that's one way we can do it, is people have seen sort of this broader description, and kind of the main bullet points. And then when they get the page, they would have the option to send their resume, and then below the fold would be the entire job description, so that we are presenting the full vision of what we hope the position will become. So that's the question, what is the next step? Like, once we posted this, just because I've not been directly part of the process, what happens when people, how do we want people to send us their information?
It's perfectly appropriate to have it sent to clerk as it states here in this little advertisement. Just your cover letter of interest and your resume. When it comes in through Facebook, that's what we ask for, is a resume. And so I think that is the next step, is that you send in your application. Your application is basically your letter of interest and your resume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe on the page, it's a reiteration of what sort of the trimmed down thing is that they saw before. And a link for them to submit their, to the email, and then below that, job description. So it is all there. But if someone is really interested, they sort of know from how we frame it, and this would be something I could draft it and of course send it around.
So you're in favor of putting the whole thing in?
Underneath the
Yeah,
The highlight.
And I don't object to it, I just think that it might torpedo it for some people,
Something wrong with that, it's not a good, they're not a good fit, and they see it, they just won't apply. It's,
But we need a person who can do those main duties, and we want them right away. And we don't even know if they will graduate to this, basically a city manager position, which is what that job description is. It's almost a city manager position, is what it is.
Well, I think it is public works, as it is focused on those tasks, which straddle both infrastructure and some ongoing things. But I do think that if we have extracted from the job description those things that are the most immediate, as billboard, that someone who's drawn to that, they may see the rest, but I think they would understand from someone who has the
Yeah,
range of skills.
as long as it's clear that these are not the beginning job description, the beginning responsibility. This is what the job would grow, is envisioned to grow into, as long as that's stated clearly, so that.
if we put that in the front of the description, saying this is saying something like a teeny cover letter, 1, 2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah, and I
what we're
think
trying
that's,
to do.
I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been imagining for this version, that would be the flat, not flashier, but the clearer ad, that's not the dense text, which would be the same thing. Yeah, I think we could put language like that.
So for off that part of the discussion, are we okay with that?
Mhm.
If I'm reading this, I am perplexed by the phrase that says salary range for this position is $40 an hour based on, depending on education and work experience.
That's because I had a range in there and I took it out and put 40, but I didn't change the language around it.
Yeah, so I think we have to, that doesn't look like, yeah, so it doesn't suggest negotiation, it just says this is what it is, so. Yeah,
I'll look at the right option. I'm not looking at the right option.
No,
This one's,
I'm looking at the job description.
Hmm.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so what does that mean to read? So is that sentence just coming out?
just getting to it. So up above, we say 20 hours per week, $40 an hour. So this is no longer a range. And yeah, unfortunately, it does seem logical to me that it might change depending on, to say it's $40 an hour. I don't know, it's sort of it's kind of awkward.
Or should it say salary for this position is up to $40 an hour?
Yeah, I think that would go better.
Yeah, we can't.
You've got to be able to negotiate.
Take a look at that. I do want that back.
Say, if you just say a number, you have no negotiation.
Right. Okay, so there's two places to say up to, up above, and then in the last paragraph.
Take a picture, the last one.
Yeah, this one here, you have that second one. See, that would be the one that would be underneath. If we do the code, QR code, this would be what they need to see. I know we have to modify it a little, or somebody needs to modify it. But that's where the front sentence can go in the beginning. The sentence is talking about how this job evolves over time.
Oh, you're talking about the
I'm
job
not
description.
really following where you're talking
Oh,
about.
I'm just talking about the
He's looking at the job description.
job description.
Oh, okay,
That's what I thought we were.
so what were you saying about it?
I am saying that's where you would put that those sentences in there describing the phasing of this position.
Okay, let me open it up.
The way it looks now, it looks like you're doing this all right now.
Okay, so where are you suggesting that this would go?
The top.
The top in the introduction?
That's important.
Yeah, although,
What's the matter?
he suggested taking that particular, or his question if that's something that we should have in there. Well, it suggests an alteration to the language, slight. But if it were a position may develop into a full-time position.
I mean, this is a new position, basically, for the town.
You should get this law.
Oh, you're adjusting it right now?
Okay, just going over this. Yeah. So we want to give it a range of 35 to 40, or say up to 40 per hour.
I'm okay with the range.
Okay, so make it 35, 40.
Yeah, okay. Then.
Okay, yeah, I'm taking out that sentence in the last, and I can send this around after I've edited it. So, suggestion for a paragraph, another bullet point here. Good.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything too good.
I don't see how we could say oversees the management and operation of the town's water utility. Because that sounds like you're operating the water utility.
To me, it does seem like, because
Or it could be taken that way. If I was simply a manager, I might not understand that. I would think, oh, they want a water person who has water experience here.
how about if it was oversees the management and work? So, that's what you have.
The only thing I see a problem with this whole description thing is almost every word is water, and it's not gonna be all their job.
Well, I like what the mayor wrote in, and I'll read it modified. Oversees the management and work of the town's water utility and all general town maintenance functions, including personnel oversight.
Okay.
That way it's not so specific, because I hear what you're saying, Laurel, that it doesn't sound like you need to actually be in the water plants directly overseeing
Yeah,
its operations. I get that.
And they're not gonna do they're not doing everything in the water plant, right?
So I think by doing that, this shorter bullet gets taken out. So I want to read what's under. It's now 4 bullets. Which I have is oversees the management, the top one, oversees the management and work of the town's water utility and all general town maintenance functions, including personnel oversight. Bullet 2, oversee the management of public works budget, standard operating procedures, projects and grants. Bullet 3, develop a long-term strategic plan for coordinating town infrastructure upgrades. And bullet 4, position may develop into a full-time position. Or just may develop, job may develop into a full-time position. If those bullets sound like they summarize it well, I do feel like those are good additions. I can send this document over email to everybody so we can all look at it
okay.
as its own fresh thing. Okay. Just a second. And I sent it as a reply to the thread that had.
There it is.
Oh, I haven't sent it yet.
Oh. Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Okay. I never use Outlook to hunt around for where to upload stuff. It'll be sent in just a second here. All right. It may look funny when it comes through, but it should be attached. Okay, I just sent it. Oh, and while we've been talking, a member of planning commission sent a proposal from another firm.
Okay.
And the others should be arriving. So this is good. And it's consistent with the motion you passed.
You got it here.
Do we want to say, so we don't confuse people, we've been saying this for a while. Instead of saying Corporation of Harpers Ferry, which I would think is confusing to people, maybe we say the town of Harpers Ferry.
Um,
I know this is not a document that is a legal document or anything, so I think we need to be clear. I don't know, that's, or just say Harpers Ferry, I just think the Corporation of Harpers Ferry. If I were to see it, not knowing this town, I would be thinking it's some sort of an ink job, you know,
how about if
for
we,
profit.
how if it was corporation parentheses town of Harper's Ferry? Which is, generally good to have the official name of the organization.
Okay.
And it does say municipal government.
The last paragraph needs a T at the beginning.
Yes, it does, done. I definitely see what you're saying, but I think, even though it's not a legal document, it's still. and it
Well,
does
to
say
me, it's an
municipal government.
advertisement, so you gotta be less confusing, more.
Okay, I think it's fine.
I just honestly, who's nailing anything is like, that's about as old school as it gets. I mean, unless you got somebody that's 75 years old, I mean. Pretty much every job applicant, if they can't use an email,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even have this address on there. I'd just leave it as an email.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Yeah, think you're
I
right.
mean, we want a high caliber person. We need somebody, it's already, we want college. It already says it in the description. So,
Well, here, I'm gonna flip it around, so email us first.
okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Well, I think we should still have it though. It lets them know where it is.
Okay, I flipped it around, it's now, the application deadline is open until filled. Email clerk@harpersferry wv.us, comma, or send a cover letter of interest and resume.
Well, yeah, well, I can just tell you, a lot of those paper ones end up in what's called the round file. I mean, when I was in a hiring firm, I worked for a staffing agency. We saw that, we go. That didn't get very far, because we were an IT engineering hiring firm.
Yeah.
So, that was a long time ago too.
Laurel, do you have any feeling about that? If we want to just even strike. Paper resume. I don't know if there's any legal requirement.
I'm not following you. What? I think we should have the address in there. What was your question?
Oh, yeah, that was the question.
Okay, yeah, I think we should, just because if I was applying for a job, I might like the address of where I'm applying a job. at.
That's not an address, that's a post office box. If you want to put the address, it's 1000 Washington Street. That I'd feel fine with. But you want them to know, but this is, it's not a big deal, but it just looks like we look pretty old duddy, fuddy duddy here with the snail mail. But
I do think that's one thing to watch for is how up to date is somebody as far as documents, yeah, all those skills that we take for granted now.
Okay, well, I split the baby again. So that's what I did. So now the first sentence is the application deadline is open until filled. Email clerk@harpersferry WS period. Applicants may also send a cover letter of interest and resume to the address.
okay,
So I think that kind of underscores much more clearly that really what we're looking for is please email us.
and if you, I don't know about you, but I also think maybe I've sent out many resumes and stuff, and I never hear back from the organization. Just like we will acknowledge your receipt. because sometimes you don't know.
It could. Yeah, I mean.
We will acknowledge your thank you or a little quickie. I'm not saying you get it out. I mean, you just,
Whoever does get the email. We would have to make sure they understand to do that, to
Yeah.
just acknowledge receipt of it.
So receive, our application will be acknowledged.
But actually, we do have the physical address above. Above at the top.
oh, they do. Oh, yeah. There it is. Oh,
Okay, I'll flip it around again. Now it says, after the bullet points. Email letter of interest and resume to clerk at Harper's Ferry. Clerk at Harper's Ferry, period. The application deadline is open until filled, period. Applicants may also send a cover letter of interest and resume to address, period. The receipt of application will be acknowledged.
I think too, if you're gonna do like you said, you're gonna try to do a fancier ad. Is that what you're trying?
Oh.
Is this the copy that goes in
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, well, yeah,
So if you need to expend stuff, go ahead. I mean, the bullets are the key. You know, the job description, the bullets.
oh, yeah, I'll winnow it down and.
I mean, because you may not have enough space for,
This is one of my skills is
okay.
layout. So, yeah, but I said.
I'm just saying, you got permission from me. I mean,
Sure.
So how, I mean, even one day, of course, is really expensive. You think we should? I don't know how many days they ran for the town clerk. When we did it before. Do you?
I don't know. I do know you're gonna have to run at least a couple weeks.
And also this time of
These
year,
papers.
like, this is kind of a tough time of year with people being often. But again, it might be a good time of year if we're looking for someone who might be retiring or newly retired when they might be
Yeah.
reading the paper. Yeah, I'd say whatever the usual game is. For posting. Would be the way to be. And yeah, it sounds, Christian, my gut is the same way, that we might get better results from the Martinsburg paper,
I think so.
if only because.
But
it's a
we
little
might
wider
find a
reach.
person who's really local. See, that's, I'm thinking of this as we go, the Spirit, the Journal, then the internet. Just-
Yeah. Yeah, on the Facebook too.
And the Facebook, oh, yeah. That's another good one.
Okay, would you like me to send this latest version around or good?
Yeah, to the town council, because this is coming up in meeting in 2 days.
Or I meant right now, like. just
Oh,
Yeah,
dickering
no,
with the-
he's still gonna do the
okay.
ad and stuff, yeah. To me,
Well,
this
okay.
is rough this is copy that needs to be cleaned up for.
And then to roll back to early in the conversation, we're, and I have a draft motion, it's not a motion. That, this job will be posted on all town communication channels, so that encompasses. That encompasses Facebook, the website, posting it out, so it's all covered. In the local, well, do we want to specify which paper or papers?
Yeah, let's do that. The Spirit of Jefferson. The Journal. The West Virginia Municipal League,
Hang on just a second.
might pick up a municipal person, this here. This came from the state, Mark Warner. I don't know. Is that where you can post jobs?
Guard. Boy.
Network.
That's what, it wouldn't preclude us from posting it other places.
No.
Well, which is to specify.
And then I had that one I said that was government jobs. It was called www.govtjobs.com.
Yes, I got that.
Okay, so.
and on Indeed.
And indeed, right.
And WVRWA.org, which is West Virginia
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Rural Water Association is WVRWA.org. They have a place we can upload a job posting.
And then the reason I'd like to remember all these is in case we hire somebody, we go back, because some of these boards leave them on. They're not like,
Hmm.
they don't clean them up.
All right, go back and
So let's go back and
Yeah, that's a good idea.
delete them or whatever we have to do. The newspapers are, well, as much as we pay them.
okay, so we feel good that we have the job description is the job description. We have the posting, which is only slightly modified from what I sent around, but which I did read out loud. And that I will do a layout that subject to approval for, and it can be tuned differently for different places. So depending on what's needed for online, Facebook, just the size and dimensions. And then we have the list. Okay, now I'd like to make a motion to recommend posting the Public Works Administrator position on all town communication channels in the Spirit of Jefferson, Martinsburg Journal, West Virginia Municipal League, West Virginia National Guard Employment Network, governmentjobs.com, WVRWA.org, and on Indeed.com.
I'll second that.
Well, discussion? All those in favor? Passes. All right. Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts.
All right.
I mean, the nuts and bolts, I mean, when we figure out what these things cost and,
Oh, yeah, for sure. I thought you were talking about the meeting. I'm like, I
No,
don't see
no, no,
anything
no.
else.
but I really think the, if you develop that thing that goes, well, maybe you can use that at Facebook, that very ad you made, not just a copy, but that ad that you're gonna make. I wonder if we could do that.
Well, it
With the-
depends on the dimensions, but it's not hard. Like once you kind of have the basic one, just move the pieces around.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just think something colorful, something that knows what we're doing here, and to me, that signifies who we are, not some podunk. Town, we know what we're doing here.
I'll look at I'll look at some comparable ads that look effective and use those models, and same thing for paper. Look to see if there are good print versions that stand out more.
And if you need any help with the journal, because I subscribe to both, not electronically, I only get the paper version here, but I get the journal.
Oh, yeah, no, I get the electronic version of the journal, which you can download the PDF.
Perfect.
And I will do the QR code, because that's a great way to keep it minimal, like highlight the key stuff, and draw them to that page. And then we'll just need to figure out how we actually get that page created and set up on the website.
And maybe we'll still need to update that in there, like that beginning paragraph, we don't need to do that here right now.
Oh, yeah, well, I figure that will be, as described, a version of the ad, so that it's clear when you land on that page. Oh, yes, this is the thing.
So you might want to work on that a little bit more on that bigger one.
To do what to it?
Well, that beginning part, figure out what the words would be for that, this is a job that's part-time, we may evolve into full-time and the duties.
But
Oh.
it's really hard to do that, because this is like our official job description, and so.
I'm sorry, it's like putting a cover letter in front of your.
Yeah, let me take a stab at that, because what I'll be doing is I can move over the advertising as being the top of this page. It's not actually creating the page, but at least, making kind of a mock-up of what it would look like. So that would be at the top and include that language, or highlight that, and then below would be the full job description.
Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second,
Are we?
All those in favor? Okay, good meeting.
5:07 PM.
Yep.
It's a short meeting. For
That's the way we- This is the way we want
Oh.
to be.
Yeah, that's smooth, that's okay, now, why are you still watching? We're done.
Oh, she's got it on.
Yeah. We don't know how to turn it off, you stuck with
Yeah.
us.
You got it.
Yeah.
You gotta get,
It's in.
I think she's over this way.
That's okay, I know how to turn off.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key.
Are you done?
Yep.
Proud of it.
Adios.